And Lewis Hamilton has been the king. Here we are in St. Paulo for the St. Paulo Grand Prix. St. Paulo instead of Brazil. Interesting. Still, there you go. We are in Brazil. We're in St. Paulo, and it's going to be a fantastic race. Look at this beautiful country. A beautiful day. Brazil has more animal and plant species than any other country in the world. Instead of Jesus, they should have put a statue of Noah on top of the mountain, but they didn't. They chose Jesus. Poor taste, in my opinion. Still, there you go. Catholics, what are you going to do about it? Also, Brazil has the largest lustifold population in the world. That means something about Portugal. I'm not going to say what. Which, according to QAnon, makes the perfect test place for 5G. 5G. Whatever that is. So that's great. And also, Brazil, as I say, St. Paulo, a beautiful place. Apart from the favela. And of course I samba. Of course I do. There I am. Superb, overlooking Brazil. What a fantastic shot. And it was a great day I had there, actually. A great day. Still, there we go. What can we say? Here we are. Saying hello to everybody. Fabio, thank you for being here, Fabio.
My pleasure.
Thank you. I'm surprised it wasn't you being from the eternal country. Almost a city there, but yeah, right. There we are. Hey. So welcome everybody. Welcome to the chat. There isn't anybody. Oh, well, there you go. Never mind. It was a fantastic Grand Prix. Lewis. What can we say? Probably one of his best ever races. And I think obviously a superb demonstration of his supreme skill, car control, overtaking ability, and general greatness as a human being. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. I don't think Jesus could have driven better. That's how much I rate that drive. What do you think? Fabio? I'm going to cut you off there, Fabio, because of course I don't think you're going to say anything interesting about Lewis. So
actually, I was going with what Alonso said.
Okay.
Alonso said, "Yeah, I mean, Mercedes is basically playing basketball, but their basket is bigger than the others."
Oh, so, salty! Absolutely salty.
Listen, I mean, okay, I'm not taking.
Not like a Frenchman to be salty much, is it?
Well, Alonso is Spanish.
Oh, he's Spanish. I beg your pardon. Yeah. I was thinking of the team, but there we are. Yeah. There we go.
No, I mean, I don't want to take anything away from Lewis' performance. I mean,
Lewis.
But you know, it makes you wonder. He starts last in the sprint race, and he got fifth, and then he got first. I mean, I can actually. I don't like Alonso. I mean, he's not my top, 10, favorite driver. He drives good, but as a person, I mean. But you got to admit there might be something about it, what he said, which is not that far fetched. So.
Really? Okay. Nothing to do with the fact they fell out when they were at McLaren, of course. Salty.
Yeah, okay. Now, so if you put it that way, so nobody can say anything about the guy. I mean, really, just give me a break.
Yeah, he has fallen out with most of the paddock, I'll be fair. Anyway, there you go. Back to the race, because that's what we're here for. The St. Paulo Grand Prix. What did you think about? No, let me get through the race first, and then we'll talk about all of the rubbish that went on, because there was a lot of rubbish. Okay, so obviously we'll cover the sprint race later, but basically Lewis Hamilton was disqualified. Although I don't know why they used the word disqualified, because I saw him in the sprint race, so they didn't disqualify him. They just penalised him and put him at the back of the grid. So straight away there, I'm a little bit dubious as to whether this was a justified penalty or not. It certainly wasn't a disqualification under my idea of what the word means. But there you go. So, yes, he was disqualified because somebody touched his rear wing. That's why he was disqualified. Maybe or maybe not. Red Bull gives you wings, as I say. And it certainly appeared that whatever Red Bull did worked. to Lewis's rear wing as it failed by 0.0 or 0.2 of a millimeter, apparently, which
Well,
is
that's what
shocking.
Toto said. But,
Shocking. Well, okay. Yeah, okay. I think
yeah.
the FIA said it as well, to be fair.
No,
But
no, no. I think I don't know unless they released something today. Yesterday they didn't provide any numbers. But
okay. No, I did see Ted Kravitz had a full detailed report of what
okay,
went
yeah.
on, and he actually reported that it was point 0.2. So I don't think it was
Yeah.
just Toto Wolff, although maybe it wasn't the FIA. I'm not certain. I think it did say it in the report though, but I'm not 100% on that. Anyway, because of this failure of Lewis's rear wing, cheat wing, as I'm calling it, is or Wingate. Let's call it Wingate. Yes, that's a better one. Wingate happened, and Lewis had to be put to the back of the grid. Mercedes, of course, did not dispute it, as there was a clear rule breach. So fair enough, away they go. Lewis then managed to make up 15 places in order to get to um, 5th place, which then put him in 10th place after a 5-place grid penalty for the race for putting a new engine in, or a new ICE, at least anyway. And that therefore on pole position was, of course, poor Sir Hamilton. Yes, but Sir Lewis. Lewis. Welcome, Spooky. Welcome, Spooky. Thank you very much for being here. We do appreciate it. Okay, so then, yes, as I say, the pole position was Valtteri Bottas. Second place was Max Verstappen. Third place was Perez, and fourth place possibly Leclerc. Not really certain about that. Was it Sainz? Sainz or
Science.
Leclerc? It was Sainz.
Science.
Okay. Sainz out qualifying Leclerc. Who'd have believed that? That was obviously a good result. Anyway, the race got underway, and both cars at the front of the road, Bottas and Max, got a great start. Max then on the inside, which is a little unfair, pushes. This is a theme of this race. Pushes Bottas out wide in the first corner, takes the lead. Bottas into second place under pressure from Perez, who didn't have a great race. Then, of course, Leclerc coming down the inside of his teammate Sainz into corner 4. Everybody ran out wide, or loads of people did. And that put Leclerc ahead of Sainz, temporarily at least. And again, rest of the field comes through, not too much, but argy-bargy later, or back in the field, just a little bit, apart from, of course, Sonoda and Alonso. Stroll.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I haven't actually rewatched the race since, so I'm a little bit fuzzy on these things. Nonetheless, lap 3, Lewis starts coming through. By the end of first lap, of course, Lewis was up to 6th place. Then Lewis gets past Sainz on lap 3, and it was just a question of Lewis overtaking and overtaking and overtaking. Of course, this was the lap that Stroll and Tsunoda came together. Absolutely destroyed Tsunoda's race and Stroll's race. But that's often the case when two cars collide in turn 1. Then the Butler let his master pass in the next lap. So, of course, Lewis was then up to 3rd place and hot on the heels of Perez and Verstappen, of course. Didn't take too long. Another 18, or on lap 18, Lewis managed to get around the outside of Perez. Perez driving cleanly and not trying to run Lewis off the road. That's a theme for this race. Lewis then passes Perez and heads off up the road to. Oh, of course, no, of course. Perez then passed Lewis back before Lewis then the next lap managed to get past and stay ahead. So that was lap 19. Lewis decides to overtake. Perez goes around the outside in turn 1 into the center S's, and this time there was no comeback for Perez. And the crowd went wild. The crowd was very partisan for Lewis. Lap 31, then bits and pieces fell off Stroll's car, and of course that allowed Bottas and to come into the pits during a safety car and overtake Perez, and that was where he was to finish in 3rd place. Perez very unlucky, really, considering he did drive a very good race. And basically Bottas just lacked pace. What can we say? Not the first time this has happened, but he did in fact lack pace. Eventually, of course, lap 48, Lewis caught up with Max, and the first time he tried to overtake, Max tried to push him off the road. In fact, pushed him off the road so far that he himself went off the road. And this is the big controversy. Max was clearly out of control at best. Of course, Red Bull straight on the radio to Michael Massey, saying, "You're fucking refereeing, fucking prick, you're fucking Massey, you're fucking refereeing prick, he's fucking racing, you're fucking." Anyway, they were waved away. Massey just said, "Yeah, we're going to look at it, but hey, there you go." And of course, nothing was to happen. Everybody complained about that, and it seemed that. But then a few laps later, and namely around lap 58, Lewis managed to catch back up again and go this time, catch back up. This time, stick a lot closer to Verstappen. And on the next lap, probably lap 59, he managed to finally get around the outside of Verstappen to take the lead going into turn 4. So well done to Lewis. And of course, he was way ahead, more than a car length ahead this time. So there was no way anybody could run him off the road. I felt we've seen these tactics before, and I did feel that they were unjustified in this case. But there you go. They're not going to slap Verstappen on the fingers or on the knuckles in this season. So I guess he will continue just driving this way. Of course, Lewis could have played it a lot smarter and not put himself in the position where he was on the outside of Verstappen. But it does mean, I feel, that if it comes to the last race and they're still neck and neck, then there will be a collision between the two anytime someone tries to go around the outside.
Another one?
Yeah, I do think that this season is going to come down to a collision of basically Max trying to go around the outside of Lewis, and then Lewis just saying, "No, fuck that, I'm going to run you off the road," and Max going, "I'm going to let you hit me because I'm ahead in the points." And I feel that will be a really disgusting way to win the championship, but that's how it will go down. That's my prediction.
Well,
you know me and my predictions. Accurate.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're fantastic. The thing is that in those situations, if somebody is ahead, that's the one which has to actually make the best decision. So I wouldn't blame. I think I messaged you. If I were Lewis, I would have drive Verstappen out of the race. Because, fuck it. At that time, it wasn't that clear that he was going to overtake. But, again, if Lewis tries to overtake Max on the outside, put himself in a spot position, if an accident happens, who has got to gain? Max. So Lewis has got to be, the more careful one. I mean, again, it's the name of the game. So I don't see anything. And even in that, accident, maybe they should have investigated that. But I haven't seen, a lot of bad stuff. I mean, Max went outside of the track too. So
yeah.
I think it was an honest mistake. Lewis again, trying to overtake on the outside that corner is quite, bizarre. But
well, I mean, bizarre by the old rules, not so bizarre by the new rules. Of course, the new
no,
rules.
No. It's not a problem of rules. It's a problem of the way that the corner is. It's it's kind of
No, I disagree because the new rules say that if a car is ahead going into a corner, then the other person has to give them has to give them space. So, and I think it's a bad rule. Don't get me wrong. But no. But
it's not a problem. What I'm saying is that I'm not complaining about the rule. I'm complaining about the type of corner. Even if you step ahead on the outside, you're gonna lose on the exit anyway. So if you're lucky, you might be ahead mid corner, but then you can't. I mean, it's almost impossible to overtake in that corner. Unless the person on the inside makes the completely wrong trajectory, which again,
sure.
it's
Yeah, no, I get you. I get you.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's how it goes down. We'll talk more about that towards the end of the race, I think. So anyway, Hamilton managed to get through eventually and took off. At the time, he had fastest lap. Although towards the end of the race, they pitted Perez, who had a significant over 30-second gap to the Ferrari behind, and I think it was the Ferrari. Yes, it was the
Yeah.
Ferrari, and he managed to get fastest lap. So, of course, that was an inevitable situation. So I think there was a 7-point swing this time, which means there is now only
I think 18.
18 points, is it?
I think so. I don't know.
Don't know. Let me just check it because I can't remember.
But
14.
14,
14.
yeah.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
you mentioned the fastest lap.
14. Yeah.
I think that's another shitty rule.
Oh yeah.
I think they should. What I think is that they should consider. I'm okay with the fastest lap, but it should be. It should happen like something like 10 laps before the end of the race. That's it. You should not be allowed to have a fastest lap in the last laps of the race.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tricky one that because then of course it's not going to be necessarily the fastest lap, is it? Because obviously that's extra 10 laps of fuel carried by whomever it is. I don't know. And likewise, they've already made arbitrary rules like it can only go down to 10th place. Right. So again, I don't see why we've got it. I think just saying that someone has the fastest lap is its own reward, especially in a season where the cars are so fast. I mean, this is somewhat nonsensical to me. But maybe I'm just wishing that maybe I'm a purist. I don't know. And the drivers used to boast about having the fastest lap, and that was bragging rights, right? Not points rights. So I disagree with this sort of fastest lap because it fucks the tactics up a little bit, I think. But anyway, there you go. I guess that's how it is. We have to put up with it, and we will go from there. Oh, sorry, did I not put this up? I thought I put that up. Anyway, so yeah, that's great. Let's just go through the results a little bit, I feel. And we'll go. There was a few other incidents in the race, which we will go through. But the results are: first place, of course, Lewis Hamilton. Fantastic first place. A brilliant race from the back of the grid, and 10th place in the actual race. So fantastic. Second, a crying Max Verstappen, who got fined 50,000 euros for touching somebody else's car. And possibly breaking the whole car. I mean, I'm surprised they managed to get the car to the grid. There you go. Third place, of course, was fantastic Bottas, bringing up the rear. So really making the points and really justifying his place this race. Although I do think he could have stayed with Lewis a little bit. But there you go. It just goes to show why Lewis is the number one. Number four, the fourth place, Sergio Perez, finally backing up Verstappen in the way he should be. Should have been doing this all year, although notice he finished 39 seconds behind, of course, with the extra pit stop there. Fifth place, a fantastic fifth place for Charles Leclerc, the pacey pastry, who finished 49 seconds without even trying for the fastest lap. 49 seconds. So where are they going to find that for next year? I don't know. Anyway, with the new regs, hopefully they will. And backing him up is in a different suit. Carlos Sainz. One of them's wearing the wrong suit. I can't think which one.
It's the same suit.
It is the same suit. It's just different color red. There you go. Obviously.
Oh yeah. The red is different. Yeah.
Somebody left Leclerc's suit in the wash for too long.
No.
Anyway.
One of the lights is out on Carlos' side.
Yeah, you got a bit of an echo there. No worries. That's all good. Sixth place for Carlos Sainz. Really a fantastic result for Ferrari. And really nailing their position to third place in the championship over McLaren. So well done to Ferrari. I'm glad they finally put a bit of extra effort into their cars this year. They needed to, and well deserved for them. Okay. Seventh place, of course, as everybody knows, seventh place.
We never know.
7th place was
There you go.
Gasly. As everybody knows, it was Gasly. That's great then. He had a very good race, really kept his nose out of trouble, didn't manage to hold anybody up like Lewis coming through, which I guess they would have hoped for, but he didn't. Esteban Ocon, Alpine actually doing very well this particular race, really getting some pace on. Managed to beat the McLarens for the first time in a few races, so that's very good. 9th place was the other Alpine of Fernando Alonso. Again, a good race, although outpaced by his colleague Ocon, probably for one of the first races in a little while. Norris, a fantastic drive considering the lack of pace in the Mercedes, and there's been some interesting rumours about Mercedes, about the McLaren team, which we'll get to after this. 11th place then was Vettel, again a solid drive, but showing that performance in that car has just gone away. An even better drive for Kimi Raikkonen. Again, a specialist driver's circuit, so you would expect these guys to be up there. So Kimi had a good race. What can we say? He's Kimi coming to the end of his career, but nonetheless doing well for his team. 13th place was then, of course, George Russell. And again, Williams really not showing much pace, but Russell dragging out what there was in the car. Antonio Giovinazzi then in 14th place, 1 lap down, doing his best. And of course, this will be his last race, or this will be his last season in Formula One for a little while, as he'll be moving off to, endurance racing for Ferrari or something. 15th place, Tsunoda, who recovered well from that early mishap of driving into somebody. 15th place, well done to him. Nicholas Latifi, the other Williams, just bringing up what could only be described as a disappointing Grand Prix for him, considering 17th place is Mazepin, who actually said it was one of his best races in the entire history of the world. And that's basically because he beat Schumacher, although Schumacher did have a few problems. As he also was taken out, and his wing was taken out at some point. And we should say, of course, that's why I think that's why Lando finished so far down as well, because he had a coming together with Sainz at the beginning of the race. I should just add that in when I've just remembered it. So he had to pit early as well. So they were on alt strategies, which didn't work out. 19th place then, of course, the non-finishers of Daniel Ricciardo, who don't know what happened to Daniel Ricciardo,
I
actually.
don't know.
Engine problem.
Something in the engine. He went in the box and he just retired. So.
Yeah, okay. So his engine gave way, the Mercedes.
No, it wasn't the engine. Ricardo had a rupture in the chassis.
Right. Okay.
That's what he retired for. Yep.
Okay. And Stroll, who was damaged his car on Tsunoda, and then bits fell off halfway through the race. So obviously they were going to black flag him, so he just pulled into the pits, and that was the race. Lewis now leads, as you said, by 14 points. Well done to Lewis, and he is, as Spooky says, a bloody hero. Bloody hero that he is. And they should make him king. And certainly we'd all agree with that, because he is, of course, the best British person ever to have lived after Churchill. So that's my race roundup. Thank you very much for that. And Fabio, how did you see the race?
I mean,
and
the race...
there's a few more things I need to say, of course, but there always will be.
Yeah, I mean, the race was brilliant. I loved it. I also loved the sprint race on Saturday. It was, a good race. It was amazing. Lewis drove really well. I mean, especially I was really impressed by the fact that he managed, to stay behind Verstappen for a lot of laps without completely destroying his tires. The only thing I would say about it, and I'm quite hesitant about saying that, because again I will say he drove a fantastic race. There is no question, no ifs and buts. Okay, so I want to be super clear. The only thing which is really puzzling is, again, the thing that Alonso said, which I think has some, there is something behind, and also the fact that regardless of the fact that he drove a fantastic race, he is a really good driver. He drives really fast. He's really committed. I think that yesterday's race, it's only going to add fuel to the people who said that, yeah, I mean, he has won 7 championships, but he has won with that car. And that, I think, it's a problem for Lewis. And that I think it's one of the reasons why. And I have to admit, I'm not a stranger to that feeling, why it is, regardless of all his achievements, regardless of how many races he's won, how many championships he's won, there is a lot of people which are not so convinced that he's better than people like Schumacher or Senna, people like that. And that might be unjustified. I'm the first one to say that. It might well be unjustified. But regardless, the point that he's able to do what he's doing with that car, and that's a car where even Bottas can get fourth. It's really hard to fight that feeling. Again, might totally not be that, but it's there, and I think it's more a problem for Lewis than for anybody else.
Right. Okay. It was third, but third. Goes to prove your point a little more. But I do think no, I disagree. I think Schumacher had the best car by far for at least 3 of those championships of the 7 that he won, by far. Cheated for another 2, and possibly in his second championship that he won with what was the team called? Fabio Briatore's team, Benetton. With the Benetton team. I also think that season there was a few misdemeanors that Schumacher got away with, and that car actually was probably the equal of the best.
Of course, you're going to say that. I mean, because you're British, that's why you've got to say that.
Well, no, fair enough. But I do think that car was very good that year, and rightly so. I mean, they had a good designer as well. But anyway, I'm just saying that I don't think we can ever say that just because somebody's got the best car, which is part of the art of being a great race driver in Formula One, is to get in the best car. And be there, and that's another reason why I think Lewis deserves all of the plaudits he gets, and is still probably the greatest racing driver in Formula One.
Well, again, that's another thing. I mean, if you're going to compare things, when Schumacher came to Ferrari, Ferrari wasn't the car that he was going to become.
No,
he built a team. Actually, I mean, there was an exceptional management behind that.
I agree.
From Montezemolo to Todd, so they built an impressive machine, and he was part of building an impressive machine. And again, I'm just playing the devil's advocate here. Those are not entirely what I think, but I'm just relying at it. It is hard to make the same comparison with Lewis because of the moment that he got into Mercedes. When Schumacher went to Ferrari, he already won 2 titles with Benetton. So it was already, somebody which has proven to be fast. He went into a car. The first year it was, shit, because the car was shit.
Unreliable,
and then, and then they built, an exceptional, machine, around the guy. So
a group of people first. I mean, they got the people first. And I also, let me just say one thing quickly.
He was part of that process, So it is it's not unfair to say that Schumacher was part of the process. Lewis got into Mercedes, having won nothing, and he was really young at the time. So it's really hard to say. Well, he
was
hasn't won any titles.
He had the best rookie season. Yeah, he had the best rookie season of anybody.
Listen, he hasn't won any titles, and he was really young. So it's hard to say that Lewis contributed, to build the machine because he had no experience at the time.
I understand. I understand your point, and I would agree. Certainly with Schumacher, firstly, he attracted the sponsors as well because Schumacher was a double world champion and he was clearly the best driver on the grid in terms of all-round abilities, right? So there's no doubt about it. He not only got a great team of designers, engineers around him, which he managed to attract from the best of the other teams, but also he attracted the best sponsors for Ferrari, Shell being, amongst probably the biggest sponsor. And I think that extra, and I would just quote this. Remember, when he moved there, his salary was massive. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there was a reason for that because he was bringing with him a hell of a lot of sponsorship. Okay. So, I don't want to say. And 2 titles. He was a double world champion, which at the time was very significant. Nobody really had more than 3, I think, or 4.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in history. So for him to go and almost double the number of titles that anybody else had previously got was massive. I didn't think in my lifetime I'd ever see anybody equal that. The fact we're seeing Lewis do it, of course, I think is an amazing job that Lewis has done. And he's done it by moving to the team which has or had the best engine coming up, and he knew that they would have the best engine. Remember, the first year he moved to Mercedes, they weren't the race-winning team that we know them today. So it's not like Mercedes have been there all along, right? It was the regulation change that Lewis jumped on, which has really given him this great ability to have the best car for so long. And I don't think that's the thing that counts against him, right? I mean, as I say, best drivers get into the best teams, and that's why that's what makes it different, I guess, from Schumacher. Remember Alonso's moves, right? Alonso's moves from McLaren to McLaren to Ferrari. Every time that they've had the best cars, that's where Alonso has gone. He's been trying to move to the best teams.
You're just proving what I said, But
to a degree, I understand.
When Lewis got in Mercedes, that wasn't the best car. He just found himself in the best car. So
I don't think he just found himself.
Well,
he knew the regs were changing.
Okay,
right? And he
fair
knew
enough.
Mercedes were going to have the best car.
Right, but he didn't know that was the best car. So basically,
that makes no difference. He knew they were going to be the best car. I mean, I knew before.
No, I understand.
As soon as I heard he signed to Mercedes, I'm like, wow, that's a great move.
Yeah, but hold on a second. I mean, a few minutes ago, you said the best drivers go to the best car. So it's either that, but that wasn't the case with Lewis.
No, it was the case with Lewis. That's what I'm saying. He knew that the reg changes were coming up. He only had to sit it out for 1 year, and then the reg changes were happening.
Okay.
And he knew that Mercedes would have the best engine.
He knew because he read the tarots or the
because it was obvious that Mercedes were coming in with the most funding, the most development on that engine. That's all. It was just obvious at the time. There was no other team that was prepared to put in the kind of money that Mercedes were doing to build engines, and they started developing that engine a year before everybody else. And they started developing the regs for energy recovery as well.
So he gambled. He gambled on that.
He gambled.
Okay,
and he gambled
fair
well.
enough.
Yeah. Just like Schumacher was kind of gambling when he moved to Ferrari, saying, right, I can turn this team around, right? Because I can get this guy and this guy and this guy, and I've got this sponsorship lined up, and it'll only take me 2 to 3 years to get the car up to scratch.
That was a little bit different. Because
a little bit different, yes. A little bit different.
Because, I mean, when
more
Schumacher,
of a gamble, for sure.
Well, when Schumacher got to Ferrari, he went to Ferrari because Montezemolo asked him and said, listen, I'm going to take this guy, this guy, and this guy, which were the best of the best at the time. So that was less of a gamble, compared to.
Okay.
I mean, no, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just trying, to explain, my
Okay.
point. I mean, if you go in a company where you already know they're gonna pick the best ones, it might be the case that you take the best guys and you put them together and it turns into shit. That happens, okay, but you're way more justified in doing that rather than say, okay, I'm going with Mercedes. They're going to put a lot of money. Now, by the way, they're not the only one which are going to put a lot of money. I mean, Renault was really strong at the time. They were putting money in there, and saying, yeah, I mean, eventually they're going to make what they did. So that's all I'm saying. But the things turn out in his favor. There is no denying that. I'm just saying that the fact that they keep winning with the car which has been so superior in 7 years, it actually, I mean, it detracts from the fact that he is an excellent driver. I'll be the first one to admit that. I got no problems whatsoever.
Okay. I mean, I disagree because of the reasons I'm saying. Mercedes wouldn't, if he wasn't the best driver, Mercedes would have swapped him. So okay. But I understand what you're saying. They've had the chances to swap him, right? Alonso's been on the market. Vettel's been on the market. How many other drivers have been on the market? All the top drivers have been on the market, other than Leclerc, really. And of course, we've got Russell coming in next year, who could have joined this year. If Mercedes had decided that Lewis's time was up. After the 2016 championship, for instance, it could have been that Lewis could have been swapped. But I don't think it's the case, because for the same reason that Schumacher was, once he got into that team, he was the draw for the sponsors. He was the draw for the engineers that want to work for a winning team, right?
And there is also the thing that Mercedes would have never done that.
I don't think they probably would have. But if he had not been winning, they would have then. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, that's again, I'm not saying that he's a bad driver. I'm just talking about all the circumstances. And Mercedes, up to 2016, it would have never changed him, because Mercedes is the same kind of company like Honda is in motorcycles. They pride themselves in building the best shit, and to them, it's way better to win with somebody that they grew rather than taking somebody which they know that might be faster. Because, what they really want to say is, our car is better than anybody else. And, see what other people can do with that. I mean, again, and they're right, because that's what's happening. Bottas third. Fuck me. I mean, it's unbelievable. But
yeah. Okay. I mean, again, we obviously we're talking about the passion of the sport here that we have, and that's great. So no worries. We can.
What were you saying about McLaren?
Oh yeah. Well, I heard a small rumor that Audi are trying to make a bid to buy McLaren.
Nice.
So and that might be the way they get in. Although whether it'll be for next year or the year after, I'm not certain. But it certainly seems to be before the 2026 deadline. And again, McLaren have denied this and said, no, we're not thinking about. Or they didn't. They've denied that Audi have made them an offer, right? But they're not denying that they're not interested if Audi were to make an offer. So it's a bit of it's one of those politics ones again.
Yeah.
I can't see it myself, because McLaren's, to buy part of the McLaren group, the engineering McLaren group, is just too expensive. I mean, it can't be the best team to buy if you're out there trying to buy a team right now. You'd rather buy Haas and build it up.
Yeah.
Or whoever else. I mean, there was another team, the Sauber team, the Alfa Romeo team, I should say. Of course, I mean, if it's only going to cost like 500-600 million to buy that team, then that's got to be a better team to buy than McLaren. It would probably cost you 1.5 billion.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense to me. But the German manufacturers, engine manufacturers, And of course, some of what we're talking about here, I think, is down to the fact that Mercedes got in early to Formula One and managed to persuade the FIA to change the regs, if it was them that did it, to these new engine regs, which of course suit engine manufacturers and not the teams. And Ferrari, in some sense, have been caught short because of their allegiance really to the old style, which is not to be, such a, or not to rely upon their engine so much. Although, of course, that's all changed in the modern era because they had no choice but to try and catch up with Mercedes, which of course they did, but then they had them taken away from them under these, under the regulations about fuel flow.
It's
So,
very interesting what you said about the engines. Besides the fact that and we've been saying that for the whole year. It's really uncanny the fact that that this is the year where Honda has got the best engine, and Honda is basically not there anymore. So
I don't.
This is super puzzling. But there is the thing with the Mercedes engine that it seems to be, according to Wolf, one of the problems they have with the current engine, especially the ICE, the proper engine, the one which
Internal
goes bang.
combustion, yeah.
Yeah, is the fact that they see there is a huge degradation in performances when the engine is exploited a lot. The longer it runs, there is a very steep downward curve in the performances, and Toto, which again, full disclaimer here, I will not believe anything that Toto Wolff says. Anything, if I see a fire, it tells me I'm gonna burn it. Probably going to jump in the fire because I'm not going to believe anything that Toto says.
Oh, really?
But,
I actually have a quote here. I'm just going to play you a quote quickly from Toto. Fabio, get to Fabio and Totti. It's the best. Get to the chopper, Fabio.
Yeah.
And there we go. That's an actual quote and recording from the man himself. Hello, Gio, by the way. Thank you and welcome to be here. Fabio, you look cold, apparently.
No, it's because I got this weather. But no, I'm fine. But what Toto said was that apparently this thing is... He blamed that on the 2019 season when they were having, when they had a big fight with Ferrari, and they took, apparently this is what it said. They took a route, to develop the engine that it bring, the engine to perform in that way, which it's super puzzling to me. But again, one last thing talking about the engine. I think that Red Bull will have to change the engine before the end of the season, and I think they're gonna do probably. I mean, if I were them, I would change for the next race in Qatar. But if they don't, they would change surely in the next one, because I think that engine has got 8 races on that, which is a lot, like a lot. So they will eventually got to change that. And
interesting.
And the last three tracks. So we have Qatar, which the cars have never raced, and every time I hear that, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? We race in Qatar, and then I forget that actually they race motorcycles in Qatar. So to me, it's
yeah. And so it's a twisty turny, so it certainly favors Red Bull, I would say.
Oh no! I mean, don't be taken away by the fact that it has some twists. It's a proper engine track. I can guarantee you, because I remember the data of how much time the butterfly valve was open on on the motorcycle engine. It's uncanny. So it's a proper. It's a proper engine track. The new one, it's a city circuit, but apparently it's going to be one of the fastest, if not the fastest circuit of the season.
Wow.
They're planning to beat the 250 kilometers an hour average on the race. So it's going to be a super engine track. And the last one is, they know what, it's Dubai, I think, the last one. So they know what it is. But
yeah, I'm just checking out something else, just checking out this circuit. Oh,
Yeah.
Losail. Okay, yeah, okay, I know
Yeah.
which circuit you mean now, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's fair,
But
that's fair.
yeah, but if Red Bull will have to change the engine, and I think they're going to change the engine, if not for the next race, the race after that, because those
That's
are
Saudi
they're gonna,
race, right? Yeah.
yeah, they're going to be tracks where engine is really important, and we saw in São Paulo what it means to have a new engine. I mean, when Lewis passed, I think Alonso passed like something like 30 kilometers an hour more than the other one. It's beyond,
Yeah, well, it's a little dodgy because you can set the car up in Brazil two ways. You can actually put a low downforce setting on Brazil and gain lap time down the straights as opposed to a high downforce setting which you can gain time in the middle sector. So I think I think that circuit is a very in between circuit where it allows you to set up the car both ways depending on and it's only the tire wear that makes the difference between those setups, which again goes to show that Lewis had a fantastic race because he kept his tires in with a low downforce setting. So, I think
by the way,
that's
talking about tires, I think that one of the great things that Lewis did is to win despite Mercedes, because they really tried everything in the book to make it lose the race. From the fact that I think they should have put the red tires on Bottas at the start just to try to keep Max
I would have
behind.
said so. Yeah.
And they didn't. And the fact that Lewis was asking for different compound than the one that Max had, and he's been asking twice on the radio, and when he left with the same tire, said, I said I wanted the other ones.
Yeah.
So Mercedes, and I mean, it's hard to blame them because at the end they won, but they really tried really, really hard to make his life as miserable as possible. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I mean, I agree. Again, we know that this surface is difficult on the tires, so is hard on the tires, and it was a hot day, and I guess that was the thinking. What they didn't really count for, and I don't think, is that as the afternoon went on, the temperature dropped quite significantly, and I think it was like an 8-degree drop from the beginning of the race to the end, and of course that's why tires were staying in there. I completely agree with you, and I don't understand why they didn't start Bottas on the soft tire just to put pressure on the thing. Other than they're not interested in Lewis's fucking title, they're only interested in the constructors. Which I can understand because it'll be the 8th in a row, which is the record, etc., etc. But I just don't understand it. I just don't get it. I mean, you wouldn't have lost much if the car performance of the Mercedes is so good. You wouldn't have lost much. Lewis coming back from 10th place, it was crucial. You would think before the race that it was crucial that Lewis had at least someone up front to hold up the Red Bulls and wear out their front tires. Especially if the day was hot, like they kept trying to say,
But it's the same reason why Lewis wanted different tires. I think he wasn't that sure that he was able to actually pass Max the way he did, and he was afraid that he was going to stay behind him a lot more laps and finally destroying the tires. So he wanted to have, I'm going to gamble. I'm going to have, an advantage on the tires because I want to overtake the guy and then make my pace and then fight at the end. Mm-hmm. That I think was his way of thinking, which again, from a driver's point of view, I think that was the right call. Mm-hmm. But again, I mean, they won, so I mean, they were right.
Yeah, again, right.
But still, it was like, wow, I have no fucking idea what they were thinking. Do you
Yeah.
want to call Peter in?
We do,
Because-
we do.
yeah.
However, I'm loath to do it because I'm just loath to do it, as you can understand. Anyway, we sent
Yeah.
Peter to Sao Paulo, and I paid for a very, very expensive hotel in the Favela.
Yeah, but
Favela.
sorry, Samos. Before you go,
Sorry.
I mean, remember that we actually have to call Peter in, because
Do
you
we?
know if you remember the contract that I made him sign, we pay him basically zero, but we gave him
Yeah.
screen time, so we actually have to. So
I've got to say, I think he's overpaid at that price. But-
it is actually overpaid. I agree with you. It should pay us to be
Yeah,
on screen with us.
absolutely,
But, yeah,
absolutely.
but I have already the new contract for next year, so
Good,
yeah,
good.
it will have to pay. So
Okay, so as I said, we've hired the most expensive hotel in the Favelas, and I'm just hoping he's okay because obviously it's easy to get into trouble. And here he is. Oh yes,
Here he
you can
is,
see
yeah.
that 5-star hotel in the background that
Five-star.
we paid for.
I
Welcome,
can see
Peter.
the pool. He has got a pool. Look at that. He's got a pool.
Welcome, Peter. Welcome, welcome. How did you find the trip to Sao Paulo? How are you finding the accommodation?
Yeah,
And what did you think of the race?
pool is basically the drainage from the houses you see back there. So the
See?
smell
He is
isn't
never
the greatest.
happy.
Isn't the greatest.
Never-
Well,
happy.
the original taste of Brazil.
But
Yeah.
to be fair, that behind me is just a picture. This is not real. I had to come back because someone
What?
planted a bomb just outside of my house. So that
Are you
was
saying that? Are you
that was
saying
funny.
that? Are you saying that Holland is more dangerous than Brazil?
Well,
in the favela, are
so
you?
I'm sure this is going to it's connected to McLaren, I think, because the people who they think have left the bomb there is what they call here the Audi gang. They tend to blow up ATM machines and make their getaway in stolen Audis. So and one of the explosives
Yeah.
that they didn't need those anymore, so they dumped it here. Apparently.
Yeah.
Which
I
is-
think
which
if
is
Audi
fun.
managed to get hold of McLaren, it'll be through the same tactics.
Probably.
They just
Yeah.
get
Probably.
paid for it.
Although
There you go. Hey, rumors.
there is something to say for that, because Volkswagen already has Bugatti, it already has Lamborghini. It would make sense to add McLaren to the list. So I wouldn't be that surprised
well, they're
if
not-
they
they're
wanted
not-
to go for
They're
that.
not buying the. They're not buying the car company. They're just buying the Formula One team. But anyway, that's another thing
I'm-
altogether.
I'm not sure. What from what I saw, they want to buy the entire company.
Okay.
So
I thought it was just the engineering and Formula One team, but
I don't know, but yeah,
okay.
we'll
Never
have
mind. We'll see what happens.
we'll have to wait.
I don't think it's going to happen anyway. Just because,
No, it's not.
why would you pay 1.5 billion for a company when you can buy Sauber for $500 million?
But they're
it
Swiss.
Yeah, I
make
mean,
any sense.
it doesn't make any sense. It's also
But
the
the-
fact
the-
that Audi is not shy of technology. What they could do is buy Sauber for 500 millions and make a Lamborghini F1, and that's it. I mean, they already got the brand, and they got the expertise. They will have the team. It's gonna be, yeah. I mean, I've got to call the guy. I know a guy in Lamborghini. Got to give me a phone call. There might be a lot of savings that I can do. Maybe we can, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We shall
can
see.
we can split the difference. Yeah.
We have a question from the group. Peter, do you fiddle your expenses?
No, I don't fiddle.
No, he says
I don't fiddle
no.
at all. I'm not musical at all.
We don't believe him though.
No,
Obviously,
no.
He is Dutch after all, which is
I'm
almost
t-
German.
I mean, I'm as honest as Toto Wolff, you could say.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Fair enough.
There you
Fair
go.
enough.
See,
Yeah.
I've got another
Fuck.
fucking quote. I've got a quote for that, but anyway, no. Peter, Peter, do your bit. Do your bit, sir.
Uh,
How did you find the Grand Prix,
uh,
and what have you found us?
Yeah, so there were a few things. Obviously, there was a lot of whining, which we will get to. But yeah, let's go to
Yeah,
the
dining and
facts.
dining, mate.
It started in P1, where they obviously had the wrong graphics up because it was
Wow.
all about Qatar, and we weren't
Yeah.
in Qatar yet. But so the more pressing news actually came from China, from an Alfa Romeo dealer who had a big billboard saying, congratulations to, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. I'll have to wait until he comes into Formula One to learn how to pronounce that. The first
Jian
Chinese
Yuzhao.
for what?
Itzu.
Jian Yuzhao.
Yeah, Anu Zhao.
Yeah.
Okay,
Jian Yuzhao.
if you say so.
I'm not being racist. I'm just.
No, no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think so. But yeah, so that was the first news, and then obviously people were really proud of Sir Lewis Hamilton, because on Twitter I saw this: only the real goats start at the 10th row. Lewis Hamilton and Nikita Mazepin. That's
Brilliant.
at least Mazepin can say that he started from the same row as Lewis Hamilton once. That'll probably be in his autobiography. And then
row 10. That's at the back of the grid. Yeah, I'm with you.
yeah, row 10.
Hey, Mazepin also made the fastest lap
Yeah, he did.
this season.
And
Let's not forget that.
only today I took that graphic off. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have taken that graphic down. But so then we come to the team bosses. So apparently Horner doesn't have a lot of fans either, because guess what he's called on Twitter? Anyone?
On Twitter, they probably call him Horner the Corner.
Well, it was trending. The number one trend,
Horner.
Karen Horner. And I've looked. People who do have Twitter, type in Karen Horner. There are several accounts that are owned by a Karen Horner, and all of them are pretty hilarious. So you'll have to go and look at those. But yeah, this was one of the pictures. Apparently, that's an actual screenshot. Complaining again. And then there was this, and
oh, brilliant!
and
His new haircut.
and that one, and
very nice.
And then I'd like to must speak to the manager, please. So yeah, Horner, yeah, well, a lot of fun with Horner. On the other hand, Toto, this always pops up during a race. I don't know why, but it always pops up. But obviously, the trending image was this one. And people had a lot of fun with that. And apparently, Hannah Montana had as well, because we saw this. Who, me? So, yeah.
Good.
And then, obviously, there was a lot of criticism for Michael Massey. Michael Massey this weekend, investigating Verstappen driving miles off track to defend against Hamilton. Oh no, disqualifying Hamilton for tiny DRS infringement in Q3. 0.2 millimeters, most likely caused by damage to the wing. But we'll never know, because
there is no such thing as a tiny infringement.
Yeah, it's either over or not.
Yeah.
Again, it's a slam dunk when you get these kinds of things done. The argument, of course, was that other people have been allowed to fix damage to their cars in Parc Fermé, and therefore, if this was damage sustained throughout that particular qualifying, then he should throughout the first session of qualifying.
Oh,
And of course,
it was obviously. We have the footage. It was caused by Max. We've all seen it. He did it. He touched it.
Yeah. He did.
Red Bull gives you damaged wings, apparently.
Tried to thumb in a soft one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
We'll go on to the next one. Have you seen
actually, before you go,
Yeah.
actually, there was something which is apparently I heard that the FIA did not have access to the speeds through the corners, the braking distances, or the steering angle that Max Verstappen was putting in.
No.
So how they managed to make a decision with all of that, I think it's ridiculous. What they really, of course, should have done is said investigation after the race when they got that data. But
And they,
nonetheless,
apparently
they want to
didn't.
make the championship as close as possible.
Apparently, they didn't get it after the race either, because during the race, the information wasn't up on the screens that people can subscribe to. But have you seen the race before the race?
No.
Just before the race, there was a race between McLaren and Mercedes, and Mercedes was beaten. Look, there they come. Look at the pace of the McLarens. Look at that. Well, it is Bottas. It is Bottas they're overtaking. So, I mean, it's not that surprising. Another thing, Lewis did get another record, because up until today, no driver won from further back down the grid than P8 at Interlagos. So he beat that by 2 places. And they were a little bit worried about what would happen if Lewis got out of the car, because do you remember 2018?
I vaguely. It was a dodgy year for me.
2018, he won there as well. And hold on, why isn't that not? Wait, why is that not working? No clue.
Oh dear.
Well, he did celebrate, as you can see.
Yeah,
he went full Simon's Funk on everybody. No clothes on. Nice moves.
I'm only doing a tribute to Dragnor. That's all.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I see that I did something wrong there. So I'll go back to this one, and we should see. This is what happened in 2018. Yeah, everything collapsed, and we couldn't have that with COVID, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Very, very nice.
Then people have a good memory, because what does this remind you of?
What does this remind me of?
Yeah. This was in Brazil. In the picture,
Schumacher, maybe.
In the picture, we see Felipe Massa.
Felipe Massa.
Look at his hand. Look at his hand.
I'm looking.
Going back in time. The things people think of when they watch a Grand Prix.
That's tenuous.
Should we still mention that Lewis got another penalty after the race?
Yeah, we don't have to mention that, because it's only a little bit of money.
It's a little bit of money. Since my funding is abysmal, I'm guessing, Simus, you'll be upgrading your computer next?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, you're going to have the newest processor in your computer, I think?
It's going to buy a new camera. That's for sure.
No, but there's apparently there's a new processor out that is really, really fast, and I've got it right here. It's the Mazepan P20. So
lovely.
That's another thing that came out. Someone sent me a picture of Simus's car, actually, which is this thing.
Oh, it's a beauty, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's a beauty.
it's a beauty.
Actually,
And
you're joking, but that processor is really good for conventional hard drives because they make them spin way faster than the
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Very true.
they do.
Drop of the hat.
It could also be
Oh,
it
yes.
also could also be the case that the computer will be spinning and the hard drive won't be able to keep up and come in last. So
Yeah.
and the last thing that I want, do we need to mention Bottas?
Got a Mercedes engine in that, by the way.
Yeah.
Carry on. Yes, we do need to mention Bottas, please.
Okay. We'll end with Bottas. Someone found some similarity. I don't know. This was it.
Fantastic.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's obviously when Bottas was driving a classic car. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, very
Okay,
similar. Yeah,
so-
totally.
Can I just say one thing about
go
Toto
ahead.
Wolff? I don't think that the way that Toto is behaving the last races, I mean these races, is good for the sport. The situation is already on fire by himself because the two drivers are really close, and as a team manager, he shouldn't. I mean, he should think 5 or 6 times before speaking, and then eventually shut up and go. I understand the guy, I understand it might be passionate, but the guy should really realize he is in a position where he should not be saying shit like that. Shit like, oh yeah, I mean, there is a lot of cars which are irregular on the track. I mean, that is something which is not helping, and the situation is gonna get heated the closer we get to the end. So I find his behavior really, really, really concerning and really puzzling.
I understand. I think it's payback for the earlier in the season, the comments that Red Bull Helmut Marko was making. I think this has been going on all year. I do think also that Red Bull have crossed a line here where, they basically set up. I mean, I think Max touching the wing was a complete setup. He knew that he shouldn't do it. He knew he was wrong to do it. And all they were doing was just basically drawing attention to the part that they think Mercedes have an illegal part on. Not because of the not because of the particular fine that went on, because clearly that's a break in the rules, but because of the design in the lower plate of the car, right, the lower wing of the car. Carry on.
I've got to correct you a little bit on that because the Red Bull asked for a clarification before Q3. So it's not that Max had to actually gather more attention to the part because the investigation was already in process. Actually, if all things, he made something really, really stupid because I'm talking about Max, because the danger was that he would have gave Mercedes a good escape route by saying, oh yeah, he touched it, therefore he damaged it.
That's not likely though, is it?
No, well, but that was really stupid. I mean, the investigation was already in process, regardless of the fact that Max touched it or not. And may I say a little story? I think it was 2002 or 2003, I don't know, in Valencia. And I was there with the test team, and there was once we finished testing, there was the F1 testing the cars, and there was Schumacher and the car, and so there were some mechanics, that they saw, because we're dressed like the Ferrari guys. I mean, we had Ducati, but the sponsor was the same red one. So I mean, I got in touch with those guys, and we went there, and one of those guys showed me. He told me, "Do you want to see the car?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, I want to see the car." So he opened the truck, and there was the car. And the car was literally like 20 centimeters in front of me, and I just touch the car, because I mean, it was fuck me. I mean, when I'm gonna touch the car anyway again? And the guy said, if you do that again, I'm gonna cut your arm. I said, okay, fair enough. So they don't want anybody to touch the car for any reason at all.
Sure, I completely agree. Which is why I think it's a wind-up, right? That's what I mean. And what they're really doing is like saying to Mercedes, or basically just putting a shot across the bows of Mercedes to say, look, we're going to draw attention to something that we're saying is wrong on your car, even though it's not. Right, that wing was been tested and retested again and again. There's no difference in their rear wing for the last 6-7 races, at least since Silverstone anyway. So it's not possible for their claims to be correct in the first place. The FIA have checked them several times, so that's not possible. So really, what they're doing is just trying to put pressure on Mercedes to, to just ramp up the stress levels that the team owner, mainly Toto Wolff, has got, and really draw deflection or deflect away from potentially something that they themselves are doing. They've already They also criticised the engine, the Mercedes engine, and said, look, it only lasts for 2 races, right? So. And that's clearly not true, because they're still using the same engine, all right, where they've been winning with engines that have done 6 races. I do agree with you. I do agree with you, though, that of course they've been turning the engine up more towards the end of the season to give Lewis extra power.
There was a rumor a while back that some of the team bosses were under the impression that Mercedes for the entire time have run the engine at 80%, and now the Honda is so strong they had to turn it up. And that is why they're bringing in new engines. And the fact that they turn it up, according to Christian Horner, they gained 20 horsepower with Lewis's new engine. And he already said, we can give Max a new engine. We're never going to get that amount of difference.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's speculation. I don't believe anything Toto says about the Red Bull. I certainly don't believe anything Christian Horner says about the Mercedes. What I do think is that they're clearly pushing the edge of reliability for the Mercedes. Otherwise, they wouldn't be bringing in new engines on a regular basis that they have. However, I think they're doing it really to give them that competitive edge again towards the end of the season, and they're trying to force Honda to do the same or Red Bull to do the same. And I think that's the real reason that it's happening.
The other thing, I understand what you say. I don't really agree about the fact, of putting pressure. Okay, so let me rephrase that. It might be a pressure in the press and, in the general attitude. I don't think that the FIA, you're really going to put pressure on the FIA. I mean, if Mercedes wants to protest something, and they have the papers and some kind of proof to point out to a specific thing, you can be damn sure they're gonna make it.
Yeah.
So it's not that the FIA is scared about that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm imagining that. I mean, so just keep in mind that those are the big protests that we know every weekend. But I'm sure there are tens of protests by every team to any other team, for some fucked up thing, which happen regularly. So.
Well, that was the accusation that Toto was saying against Red Bull is, look, there's a lot of these little niggly things that we could be complaining about, but we don't because there's a unspoken agreement between the teams, unwritten agreement, that people are not going to just dispute things willy-nilly without actual evidence. And of course, like again with the Bedoya incident with the wheel covers, right? Nobody had proof. You couldn't prove it without the designs. You can't get the designs because that would be espionage. So therefore, they had to let them go, right?
No, but
that went on long enough until something happened with the English designer.
But I agree. I mean, but that's the thing. I mean, if you protest on something, you got to be sure that you're going to protest on something that.
Oh no, that's the agreement they've got. You don't have to. You don't have to. And Red Bull have started protesting things that they don't have evidence for. Why? because they would have to have done espionage in order to have evidence.
Well, listen, if Toto Wolff really believes what he says, is way dumber than I thought. Because at this point in the season, right, where there is so much at stake, gentleman agreement, really? Fuck
No,
off.
no, no.
I mean,
No. You misunderstand what I'm saying. It's not about a gentleman's agreement. It's about saying we're not going to call the FIA in for every small misdemeanor unless we have evidence. Right? That's the point.
Yeah.
Now, Red Bull, right? This one about the rear wing, Red Bull don't have evidence. They just go, well, it must be something. There's got to be something that's giving them extra speed down the straight, so it must be the rear wing, and that's their evidence, right? And that's not what has been done in every single season up to now. Even in the brake debacle, or the Red McLaren Ferrari debacle, right? That even during that period, Ferrari still didn't do anything until they got the evidence.
Yeah.
Okay, and that goes to show you that Ferrari wouldn't go this low as Red Bull are going by just complaining about parts on another car. For which they've got no evidence. Clearly, they've got no. They can't have evidence, say, without the actual designs. So that's not possible.
Well,
but there you go. That's how it's becoming this year, and Red Bull are absolutely desperate to win this one.
Just
There's
before
no doubt about it, which is why I think there will be a huge crash before the end of the year between Lewis and Max.
I'm thinking
yeah,
the same thing.
I mean that might be the case, and this is why I was saying that I don't think the Toto Wolff's words are actually helpful. Yeah. So.
Yeah,
Well,
I would agree with
just before we started the show, I saw an interview where he said, no more gentlemen's agreements and no more being politically correct. Gloves are off. So.
Yeah. This
which again, I mean, it proves my point. I mean,
It does.
I don't know what kind of planet is coming from Toto Wolff. I mean, he's in fucking F1. People has been at each other's throat for decades. And now he just discovered, I don't want to be Mr. Nice Guy. I mean, look around you. These people are fucking criminals, all of them, right? I mean, if they could gain a tenth of a second by killing their mother, they'll be.
Yeah,
they would all be orphans,
I think you are talking about a non-engine manufacturer right there, because there's too much at risk. But I definitely appreciate this game is not one for gentlemen in the way it was back in the 50s. And as such, there's that's part of the game. And I do honestly think that really all that's going on here is just some blustering and pressure being put on, which is exactly why I still maintain that Verstappen touching the car is just pressure, right? It's just Mercedes, or it's just Red Bull trying to put pressure on and seeing what's going. Okay, let me just say, we've got to just welcome Lucky Wolf. Good to see you. Thank you very much for dropping by. Rageshenbet's going to his old tricks again at the weekend. Yeah, obviously we have talked about Verstappen driving people off the road before. It was a theme of this Grand Prix, in fact, and we've had a strong discussion in the middle there. I tend to agree with you, and I wish the FIA had done something about it, but of course they didn't have the data allegedly to be able to do anything about it. And as yet, that data has not been released. So I think that tells you everything you need to know as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, welcome indeed. Thank you for dropping by. Okay, Peter, do you have anything you'd like to add in?
No, I'm just I'm excited for what is going to happen, because we're going to see something happen. It's not over yet, and with 14 points, and we're going to have some exciting races, and I think they need to bring extra parts. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. 14 points, 3 races. That's 2 race wins to Lewis, with second places to Verstappen, and we're even. It could all come down to the last round.
Which I would love to see, that it comes down to the last round. But even then, I think if they're going to end equal on points, it goes to Verstappen.
It does, yeah.
because
No,
it's,
no,
See,
it's two races to be equal.
yeah, I
Lewis
still,
wins them both.
yeah, I still think that Verstappen is.
well, he has the most
favorite
race
in the
wins.
race.
So if they're equal on points, that's going to come in and count, and so that will give him the world championship, even if
but I
they're
mean,
equal.
it's not. Yeah, I mean, it's not only that. I mean, he's ahead. Granted, it's 14 points, but keep in mind that there was a moment in the race where basically he had the match point in Qatar. There was that point in the race, so
Yeah.
the Mercedes has got to still playing catching up, and I am more scared about Mercedes than Lewis Hamilton because again, I want to stress out the fact, and Simon's agree with me, that Lewis won despite Mercedes this
Yeah,
weekend.
yeah. That seems to be the way.
So yeah, and
I mean, it was a fantastic drive. There's no doubt about that. Let me just read out this comment. Clay Regazzoni, that's a name I haven't heard for years. He was actually my favorite driver at one point, and I had a Clay Regazzoni helmet. My very first motorcycle helmet was, in fact, a Clay Regazzoni branded helmet. Told Nicky Lauda, if you drive like a woman and block other cars, you will never be a champion. If Nicky agreed with that, that's good enough for me. Oh, the
well,
70s. Oh, the 70s.
Well, brings me back to something.
I just want to say, sorry, I just want to say about this sentence that, well, first of all, Clay Regazzoni, I don't recall him winning any championship, what Nicky did, and Nicky was a son of a bitch, first of all. And the second thing about this sentence is that, okay, it might be true that you will never be a champion, but it doesn't say that you will never win a championship. So be really careful about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Peter, what did you have to say?
Well, since you said that your first thing was something from Clay Regazzoni and
It was a helmet, yeah.
all the 70s. In the 70s, I was wearing a black jacket with gold striping and the John Player Special badge.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to go on holiday to Heidelberg, and in the same hotel where we were, there was a reporter for the Goslar News, which is a town up in the north of Germany. He managed to take me to the circuit. Back then, I was a fan of Ronnie Peterson, obviously because of the name. I was really young. The guy had my first name in his last name. And they did allow me to sit in his car.
Wow.
And this was 3 months before he tragically got killed in the same car. So yeah.
No connection there, people. By the way,
No,
it was
no,
not
I
Peter's fault.
didn't do anything.
just knew that.
I wouldn't have done because
Yeah,
as I
sure.
said, I was
Neither did Max Verstappen, but you're both Dutch.
we are, but I am wearing a hat. And you may recognize that from
That was
it's this is British.
that was fucking great.
This is British. I mean,
Jesus.
Yeah.
who was the British guy who
Dear.
made
Yeah,
a lot happen
Nicky
for?
Lauda you're talking about.
No.
Sorry, I'm just responding to
Nicky-
Lucky Wolf in there.
Nicky Lauda wasn't British.
Yeah,
No, he
I
wasn't.
didn't say that. No, I'm
No.
responding to a comment.
I said
Yes,
who
of
was that
course.
British guy? And you said Nicky Lauda.
Hang on. If Nicky agreed, that wasn't made clear. Your comment stands. Thank you, Lucky Wolf.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Peter. Sorry.
No, I said who was the British, or should I say Scottish guy who did a lot for safety?
Jim Clark.
No.
Oh, Jackie Stewart.
Yeah. See, in honor.
There we go.
See.
Oh,
I-
okay.
It's
I'm
a great
not-
day for a motor race.
I'm not Scottish, so I'm not allowed to use. Damn, how do they call it? The
Tartan.
tartan. I'm not allowed.
So before we go too much into this, shitstorm.
We're not.
and-
We're actually trying to end the show. Carry on.
No, okay, no. Yeah, that was exactly my point. Before we end the show, being carried out, with all this shit. I just want to remind two motorsport legends which ended their career last Sunday. And so one is, of course, Valentino Rossi. I mean,
Yes.
brilliant
Valet.
brilliant fucking motorsport legend. Bit of a cunt, if you ask me, but regardless, what he did, it beggars belief. And the other motorsport legend which ended their career this Sunday is another Italian, Tony Cairoli, 9 times world champion in motocross. A stellar career. Anybody which is a fan of motocross, but they know the guy. His successes, they rival with the one of Rossi. It's a totally different sport, of course, but they're two legends, two motorsports legends in their own sports. So yeah, I just want to say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Rossi, Valet, what a great career. I remember seeing him 125 racing, 250 racing, and I'm so privileged to have seen and been alive through his career, because clearly he's just been an outstanding motorcyclist, the like of which I don't think we'll see again. There's something extra about that guy.
It's going to be really tough, really tough, really hard.
There's something extra about that guy. His determination, his willpower.
He's there with people, like Giacomo Agostini or Mike Aylwood. I mean, it's those kind of pantheon of gods.
I don't know a lot about it, but so what you're saying is he's basically the Lewis Hamilton of motorbiking.
No, it's way better than Lewis Hamilton.
I would agree.
It's way better. It's way better for the very same reason that we had the argument at the beginning of the show.
Yeah. Okay.
Because Rossi won with multiple brands, and so I mean, in that instance, the type of critique that people do, to Lewis Hamilton cannot apply to Valentino. It's so much more, more better, if you pardon, my. No, Argo is actually 15 times champ. So.
And I think Rossi was 9 times champ as well. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and in the modern era, that makes a big difference. And he's like Lewis, he's crossed regulations as well. So
and by the way, fuck Honda from the bottom of my heart, because
that came out of nowhere.
No, because Valentino asked Honda to give him, the 500 two-stroke, the one that he won the championship, and they said no. So fuck those guys.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fuck those guys.
At the end of the show, Fabio brings in that he wants to see Lewis win the world championship because fuck Honda.
Brilliant. Fuck Honda.
Honda.
I would also just say quickly that
I don't know where it came from, but yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I would also say I don't think we're talking 15 times champ. I would also say I was really touched by the video that they played after Valentino finished his last race, which had tributes from anybody who's anybody in motorsport, and a few other celebrities as well, of course. But it was Doohan saying what a great legend he is, and that just impresses me so much, because of course Doohan is really the person that Valentino inherited the champion's crown from, as being the best of all time. Foggy as well, I believe, has also given a good tribute as well. Carl Fogarty, who was not in MotoGP, but was a legend in World Superbike racing. So
crazy. I mean, that guy was mental.
Yeah,
properly mental and properly dangerous. But
properly
loved him.
Like Valley.
I love the guy.
Yeah, me too. Anyway, just to finish up there, that's great. We will, of course, be saying goodbye to a couple of legends as well at the end of this year in Formula One. So it's just that time. It's happening. And I've got to say a lot of thanks to both of you very much for being here and going through all of this. Is there anything else either of you would like to just say? I have missed a couple of things, but they can wait till next time, I'm sure.
No,
anything you guys want to add in?
No, I find it very touching that you said the thing about losing the legends at the end of the year. seeing Antonio Giovinazzi go is really
And him as well.
is touching that you say that about him.
I haven't touched that because it's gonna be a fucking shitstorm. So I'm staying way away from that topic because
Yeah, politics. What can we say?
yes.
It's never a strong point. Thank you. 15 time between 3 and 350. Yeah, okay, that's right. And I don't know. I think 9 titles includes all of Rossi's wins in 250 and 125 as well. So we are including all of the championships, are we not?
I'm not sure about that. Yeah, I think so. But
As far as I would imagine that they are.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
let's go there. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Peter. We are off to Qatar next week for this Losail circuit, which I think myself would probably favour Red Bull, although Fabio's inside knowledge says maybe not. So that's an exciting thing to see. Only 1 week to go. This is a triple header, and we'll go from there. Thank you, Peter. Off to the Sal. That's a trip to the sun for you.
Yeah.
How nice is that?
I'm going to favor Red Bull as well because there's no alcohol allowed there, probably. So.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, the camel is on the way to you now to take you there, so that's great.
I might make it in time.
Yeah, I hope so. Although, yeah, anyway. Fabio, thank you very much for being a partner. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And we will see you all next week for the show. And let me just say, Fabio's just... My hair a bit... Barry Sheen. Yeah, there you go, Barry Sheen. There's a name. Are you typing in chat, Fabio? Do we need to wait till that comes out?
No.
Nope, you're all good. Okay, that's great.
Fine.
Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you all next week. Peter, if you'd like to play us out, that'd be great.
Will do.
So, ciao from me.
Bye, everyone.
Ciao.